Hi guys, it's Clarice, and today I am super excited to be doing this fun tutorial with you guys. I have traced this bird, which is a flamingo, and it has a peony kind of bloom for the main body part of it. So it's going to be like an abstract-ish kind of piece, and I'm just looking forward to get in there and paint it with you guys. So to start off, I'm going to be using these brushes, which is going to be the Silver Black Velvet in the 4, my Neptune in the 8, Princeton Neptune in the 8, and I'm just going to keep the number 1 mop brush handy, so we'll see if I end up using it or not. And for colors, I'm going to be using a pink or a red. Well, you're going to be using a red, and then you get the pink by how light you display it on here. For my green, I'm using the dark green from the St. Petersburg set of colors that I have, and I'm going to be using a black to highlight certain areas like the beak and the eye and whatnot. So let's begin, shall we? I have my water ready, and I have my paper towel ready as well, just in case I need to dab certain areas. And yeah, let's begin. So I might also just use for the red, like I have this red on standby from the St. Petersburg collection that I have, but I'm contemplating using the red from my Daniel Smith, the quinacridone rose, actually, not quite the red that comes with it, but yeah, so that is this color right here, and I have it on the palette, so I'm most likely gonna use this one because it's pretty. But you know what, actually let's swatch it before we begin. I'm just gonna find some paper that I can swatch it on, and then we can see the difference. Okay, why don't we take this practice sheet that I had done a while back, and I'm just gonna do it on the side here. So my red from St. Petersburg is right here, and that is pretty. I think I could use this, it would be good enough. The cooler red, and then the quinacridone rose, which I have on my palette. I'm just gonna get a little bit of it and then do it right here. So they're actually both quite similar, but you can see the difference between the Daniel Smith and the, let me put it up higher, the Daniel Smith and the St. Petersburg. Like Daniel Smith is a lot brighter and nicer than the St. Petersburg, so I think I should go with the Daniel Smith. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so I am going to have this drawing available as a download in the description, so you feel free to get it from there if you must. For those of you who are quite handy with a pencil and eraser, you can just feel free to go ahead and do your own rendition of this bird. Okay, so let's begin. So to begin with, I am going to start off by doing the body of it. So let's start off with that. I'm going to mix some color. And mixing that color on the side. And just give me 1 second. Okay, so what I will do to begin is I'm going to lay down I'm just going to put in some water all along here and then go in with the color of pink. So I could actually just take a very light pink just at the tip of this, just take some of the pink on this brush and then lay it down. Now I'm mixing the color all over as per where my drawing is, where my lines are. And I went a little bit out of the lines here, so I'm just going to let that dry up before I go in and put like a darker color or a darker shade of the pink in there. And I'm just going to let this trail off. Make sure it is on the screen for you guys. Okay, and now I'm going to go in with the pink that I have on here, and while it is still damp, I'm just going to try and get in some dark in there. It's too dark, so I'm just going to spread it around. Just gonna move the color around so it kind of spreads nicely. And I like that the top of the head, or the neck rather, is lighter and then this side's darker, so it kind of gives you that, oh, the light's coming from the top. And I'm just gonna try and move some color down here. And I'm being a little bit extra with the edges just to make sure we get that nice effect. Because once I erase the lines, the color is going to be working as our indicator of what is where. And now, since I have some on here already, I can just use the same thing to do the legs, and then we can get on to the fun part, which is the flower. So for the legs, I'm just going to do it lightly. And then I can just go in with this. I know there's quite a bit of pink on here, but I'm just doing the edges to be slightly darker. And that's it. I'm just going to leave it at that. And now we can go ahead and do, actually there is this little guy here, this folded leg. So let's just get that done and out of the way as well. And then we can go into the flower. So I'm just adding some where it connects to the body area, and then some right here. Again, indicative of dark, light, shadow area. All right, and then I'll leave it at that. And now we can proceed with the actual flower. All right, guys, I'm going to add one extra element to this for the sake of this video, and it's going to be a trial. Let's just see how it works. And if it doesn't, that's totally cool. It's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce some masking fluid into the floral area before we start painting. So I have the Winsor Newton art masking fluid, and oops, I'm just gonna make sure I get some on here. I don't want a whole lot, so I'm just gonna dip it straight from the bottle itself, and I'm going to paint it on just around the edges of the flower petals, and it doesn't have to be consistent throughout. I just want to add some interesting looking white space, so this is why I'm doing this. And let's just add some here, and then some here. And let's just see how it flows and goes. So try it out and let's see what happens. I'll just add some. See, I still have some paint on this. Still not entirely used to experimented much with masking fluid, so I don't know everything involved with it, but here's me experimenting while I am doing a video. So let's see. All right, so let's just end it at that. I didn't want to keep this open for too long so it doesn't get dry and then it's pointless and no use to me. So let's just wait for this to dry a little bit and then we'll get back and start painting. Okay, so I think we've given it enough time to dry. Let's go in and paint the flower. So to begin with, I'm just going to let you guys know that what I plan to do is make the insides of the flower brighter in color, and then add a little bit of black in there just to kind of really darken it, and then have the outer last area of petals to be very light, and then the edges will be like a nice green to show the green part of the flower. So let's begin. I have this brush, the Squirrel Mop brush that I'm going to be using, and I will get a fair amount of my quinacridone rose and I will apply it onto this area. But let me just make sure I'm mixing the colors well, because this brush does take quite a bit of color. And sorry, not color, water. That's what I was trying to say. Okay, and then to begin, I am going to just start applying some in the center. So here's my center, and I'm just going to go go out very loosely, and then just take some of the actual color and just add it more towards the center. And then I'm going to take this brush, making sure it's just water on here, and then just spread it around. And spread it around in the background as well, and then go back in with this and just add some at the edges so it spreads out nicely. And then I'm doing the same thing around here, and I want to apply the color in a similar manner. Okay, and now actually what I will also do is I will take some of the black. This is the black, right? I want to make sure it's a black. It is a black, I think, a grayish black, and I'm just going to add it in the center here. A few areas to mix in with the quinacridone rose to get like a nice darker shade. I don't want to do it too much, so I will leave it as that and then continue to paint the rest of the flower. And it also makes it, it almost makes it look like a nice purple, kind of, a little bit, maybe. Who sees purple? Now I'm going to extend it down here. And it's fine if there's like white space happening, because y'all know I like my white space. Okay, that was a terrible accent. I wasn't trying to mimic anyone. But just trying to make a point that I like my white space. And I'm just trying to make sure I have a good enough definition going on here with the color variations to ensure that, oh, it does look like a peony or a rose, whatever you want to call it. So there's a tad bit too much water on here. I'm just going to take that off. And add things here. So what I'm realizing has happened is it's not looking too light. So I'm just going to go in with this brush and just take off some of the color. It just has water in it right now. And then just have it trail off. Push the color down to the center so that those can be darker. And then I'm just going to go back in with the black and add some around the folds, certain areas here and there. And you could actually go ahead and do it with a purple if you want. I like the black, so I'm going to leave it with the black. And then I'm going to go ahead and dampen this area. Oops, making sure that I don't have any more pink. I'm going to just dampen these areas here. And then I'm going to go in with some green. And for the green, I will use this, the number 8. So I have my green here. I'm just going to lightly graze around here and there. Then just have it nice and dark over here and then kind of trail it in. So I want the dark in the center as much as possible, that is. And then just get some of this down here as well because it needs to be there. And then that's that. And so I like how that kind of green has been laid down. You want to just emphasize it some more towards the edges. You can just go ahead and add some. So it's nice and strong. There you go. And I'm just dipping the tip of this in the black, and I'm just gonna add this here because I want there to be a definition, clear definition between this section of the leaf and that. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. And yeah, there we go. That's that. And so the black kind of ties in with the black in there as well. So I like how that is turning out. And I'm just going to go ahead and use this brush to smoothen out some areas that might not be blended in as well. Oh, there's a spray of color on there. Okay, now what I could also do is once this dries up better, just to make it a little more darker on the insides here, and always go in with my number 8 and just add a couple of touches of pink or the quinacridone rose, and this is just to kind of enhance it some more. And it's just in like certain areas where the folds of the petals are. And then you can just smoothen it out by adding water this way. And then if there's too much water, just kind of go in with your paper towel and dab. And it fixes things quite nicely. I just got a little bit too much water on here. There you go. Okay, so I'm gonna let this bit dry for some time, and in the meantime what we can do is kind of go in with our color to enhance the face area. So I'm just gonna go and just do a light sweep of pink around here, and then I want to do the beak black. So I'm gonna take some black, and that's a fairly easy thing to do. You're just kind of coloring it into the drawing area, the drawn out beak area, I mean. Just make sure you don't touch the face pink because it's still damp, and if you touch it, it might just pull the black upward and blend. Probably something you don't want. I'm just going to add, I need to do the eye, but yeah, you know what, I think I'm going to take a chance. The eye is dry, so I'm just going to do the eye, and then we are done. And then all that's left to do is take out the masking fluid to see what that looks like. So just doing the eye, and I'm leaving a white space inside the eye just for dramatic effect. And then I'm just gonna, oops, no, I don't want to do that too much because it's still wet. All right, so we're gonna leave it at this and then just have this dry some more. In the meantime, again, you know I like my splatters, so if you guys want to use some splattering on here, you can absolutely do that. I'm going to mix some of this quinacridone rose with the black, sorry, with a bluish black, and get some nice purples. And so I'm just going to go like this over the rose. So I probably didn't want it to go there, but it went there, so just gonna try and I wish I had something to cover. Hold on. I'm gonna get a sheet of paper to just cover this area, and then I can just hold it like this and just go go over the rows. Yeah. Then I want some smaller splatters, so I'm going to use this brush, and let me just get some of that on here. And then I'm just going to splatter it. Around there. Slightly at the top. So it looks like that. Yep. That's good. And yeah, now we can just wait for everything to dry, and then we'll take this off, and then let's see what we're left with. So we'll be right back. All right, guys, so I think we've waited long enough, and let's do the final unveiling, which is to just rub it off. And I just want to make sure, waited long enough, but just want to make sure I'm not taking out or smudging. I am smudging some. Better make sure the hands are dry as well. So I think what's happening here is, oopsie, I've smudged quite a bit of the pink. Oh, but that's good because it came off, it kind of rubbed on the, what is it called? The masking fluid. So I think the best way to do the masking fluid is to always put 2 layers, paint on 2 layers, so it's a nice thick enough mask, and then once you get an edge to kind of just pull it off. But maybe, because this might take me a while, I should probably just make this a time lapse. Let's make it a time lapse. All right, guys, so this is what we have now that it's completed. What do you guys think? I really like how it's turned out. I think maybe we could embellish it with a couple of more details in terms of, I'll show you what I mean. I'm just taking some of the pink on my Squirrel Mop brush, and I'm just going to do a couple of like open-ended details to the already painted stuff. Petals. And this is just to give it a little more detail. And sorry, that was my son who came up complaining about his sister. So I'm just adding a couple of details to the painting, and you don't have to if you're pleased with it. I'm just kind of adding some embellishments to it, and once that is done, I am going to stop, and I just wanted to add just a couple here and there to kind of emphasize like, what was I saying, color differences and such, to kind of make it a little more detailed that way. But like I also mentioned, if you are happy with how it's turned out, this step is really not needed. It's just me doing it. And yeah, I think I'll just leave it at that for now. I think next, what I would do if I were to do this again is I would do the flower typically the way I would normally paint a peony, instead of kind of drawing it on first and then doing this. But yeah, I don't mind this either. Like, this looks pretty good to me. So thanks so much for joining, guys. Let me know in the comments what you thought. If you do end up doing this, send me or tag me in your concepts on Instagram and Facebook. I love to see it. And thanks again for watching and subscribing. We'll chat soon. Bye.